Hey, yo, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today, we're going to talk about, should I lift the truck? Should I level it? Or should I just leave it alone? Let's talk about the pros and cons on each. Let's get into it. It is a beautiful fall day. Jumped in the truck, getting outside a little bit of driving around. Haven't actually been driving all that much lately. Been traveling a little bit for work and for some family obligations, so good to be back in the truck. I've got the sun shining off to the west. I've got the snow already dusting the mountaintops off to the east, and I'm driving south. Want to talk a little bit about pros and cons as I think about what I'm maybe considering doing next with my Tacoma. And that is, I've been looking at whether I should lift it or whether I should level it or whether I should just leave it be. I want to talk about what the pros and cons are of each one of those things. That late afternoon sun is just kind of at a weird angle now that I've made a turn. It's right behind me, so hopefully I don't get too much sun glares or flares coming against me. But you know, the first thing that I thought about, or I think the first thing when you get a stock truck like the Tacoma, is you think about lifting it. And you know, when it comes to lifts and suspension, really the sky's the limit on what you can do and what you can spend. But, you know, I think about, you've got the TRD lift specifically made for Toyota. It's a 2-1 lift, so it is going to give you a little bit of a lift. It's also going to level. The factory instruction is to remove the fog lights, which with the 2-1 lift kind of surprises me, to be honest. It's not that tall. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. You're also going to get the TRD Pro grill as part of that. I think the advantage is obviously the warranty. From what I talked to at my dealership, if I had done it at time of purchase, it would have been a couple years. If you do it after, it's a 1 year, 12 month. Although at the time, my dealership wasn't really pushing for it. They had enough stuff going on. It seems like now they're a little bit more interested. I actually think I could get the full 2-year warranty out of it. So that's an option. The downside of doing the lift there with the dealership, it's nice that you get the TRD Pro grill, but it is by far one of the most expensive options for, you know, a 2-1 lift, something that's fairly kind of a smaller lift in general. The other thing about that lift is I'm not sure how much it's going to level it. I'm wondering if it's still going to give it a little bit of that angle, and it's going to be over $2,000 just for that lift alone. That's not changing anything with the actual suspension from what I understand. You are getting the Pro grill, which is a nice touch, but for the price it's pretty expensive. The other more common lift is probably going to be like a 3.2, and then again, you can go, sky's the limits on what you want to do. The pros are obviously it is going to give you the most ground clearance depending on what you're looking at doing, but definitely more than stock. Even a 2.1 or a 3.2, let alone if you start doing bigger, are going to give you more ground clearance. If you're looking at doing any kind of off-roading, that's probably going to be one of the things you really look at, is doing some kind of a lift. I've got the TRD off-road. I feel like it's got pretty good clearance as is, but again, a lift is just going to give it even more clearance. Also increased visibility, right? If you're lifted up a little bit higher, you've got a little bit better visibility as you're going off-roading to be able to see what's around you and see the terrain. So that's another pro for doing the lift in that regard. Another pro of lifting it is going to be improved towing capacity. Now, I'm not actually sure it's towing capacity, meaning I don't know that you're going to be able to actually tow more, but from some of the places I've talked to, it's going to just help you as you lift that truck up. It's just going to help with the towing ability of the Tacoma And if that's something that you're looking to do is be hauling stuff, that's something you might want to consider. I think the biggest advantage that I look at is obviously the looks of the truck. When you lift it up, it almost feels like it needs to be lifted a little bit in general. The way that the Tacoma sits, and if you want to have that look, which that's kind of where I'm debating, is what's the look that I want. But definitely one of the big advantages of lifting it is going to be getting a better look, making it look like a little bit bigger truck. And then along with that goes being able to add bigger tires. Now let's talk about the cons, because one of the cons right out of the gate is if you're going to do too much of a lift, you almost need to upgrade your tires and your wheels right out of the gate. Otherwise, you're going to look like a guy who works out all the time and never does leg day. And that's really not the look that you're going to be going for in the Tacoma. So I think that's one of the number one cons, if you're not looking to spend the money, is that you're going to need to do bigger tires. If that's what you want to do, then it's definitely a pro of putting in a full-on lift kit. So I think the two biggest cons of putting in a full-on lift kit is, number one, going to be the cost. Again, the sky's the limit in what you can spend, how big you're going to lift it. Do you need to upgrade the suspension? That's going to be a big factor. And I think the cost is definitely probably the number one downside. Along with that goes decreased gas mileage. So generally your gas mileage is going to go down, especially if you put on bigger tires, bigger wheels. That's going to make a big difference in your gas mileage, which again, that comes back to a cost factor. So are you willing to spend the money? Some people say ride quality really suffers. Again, if you're looking at just doing a lift and not doing anything else, to upgrade the suspension, then yeah, ride quality with bigger tires is going to definitely suffer. Now, if you're using it as a daily driver, using it just for off-roading, all of those factors are going to play in. But I think those are the pros and the cons of doing an actual lift kit. All right, so going from the full-on lift kit over to a leveling kit. Now, what's a leveling kit going to do? It's really not going to do anything with the back of the truck. It's really just going to lift the front of it up and actually level the truck. So trucks are always built with a little bit of the nose dive on them. Leveling kit is going to lift up the front. Pros is you're going to get a little bit of extra clearance depending on what kind of leveling kit you do. Generally 2 inches in the front is what I've heard for the Tacoma. It's more cost effective as far as compared to a lift kit. Leveling is going to be a little bit less expensive. And generally, you don't need to upgrade your wheels and your tires either, right? It's just a little bit of a lift. It's going to give it a little bit of a nicer look to it. It's going to help with that nose diving. One of the things that I've talked with several people about is when you go to stop or slow down, you kind of notice the Tacoma do that dive. Leveling kit's going to help balance that out a little bit. Those are some of the pros. The cons are ride quality still could get disrupted a little bit. When I think about doing a leveling kit, I've already got Bilstein's shocks built into this TRD off-road. So if I'm going to do a full-on lift kit, I may consider suspension. Leveling kit, probably not. You also probably don't need to worry as much about the tires. However, you also probably can't go with bigger tires. So while on one side you're going to save money if you don't need to do bigger tires, the con of that is that you're probably not even able to do bigger tires. Maybe a little bit more. It's not something I've really looked into, but I'd love to hear in the comments. Have you done something like a leveling kit and changed up your tires? Or have you kept them, maybe upgraded the tires, but kept the same ones? And then one of the cons is going to be that you're not getting as much lift out of the truck, right? You're not making it as big as it would look if you had a full-on lift kit. Leveling is going to be a nice kind of in-between, but it's not going to be the full-on look that you can get. And last, of course, is just leaving it alone. Keeping it stock, not doing anything with it. Advantages, obviously, is A, ride quality is going to stay exactly like it is stock, and B, you're not spending any money. The con is you're not getting the additional ground clearance, you're not getting that additional look to it. Let's face it, a lot of us like the Tacoma because it has such a unique look to it, and you don't get that if you keep it stock. Now, depending on which model you have, maybe that's part of your goal. Maybe you never intend to do anything. You don't need extra ground clearance, so that's not a big deal for you. So those are some of the pros and the cons. I'd love to know in the comments, what have you done? Have you kept it stock? Have you left it alone? Have you leveled it and done the kind of less expensive route while still giving it a little bit of an upgrade to the look? Or have you done a full-on lift kit And based on what you've done, I'd also like to know, is that what you recommend, or would you do something different if you could do it again? Thank you for making it this far into the video. Go ahead and hit like. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. I've got more videos coming about the Toyota Tacoma. Excited for some of the mods that I've already got lined up. Just got to find time to go ahead and do those installs, get those out to you as well. So, all right, so that's a little bit of my opinion on pros and cons of leaving it, leveling it, or lifting it. So the big question is, what have I decided to do with my Tacoma as I've been doing my research? Well, that's for another video. Stay tuned. Coming soon to find out what I've decided to do with my 2021 black TRD off-road. All right, hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.